yet. Yeah, I do have that. If anyone wants, send a card or something.
Yes. What's that?
Caleb.
Yeah. Caleb.
Yes.
All right, we are going to begin. Good morning, everyone. We're going to quickly go through this so I don't steal all of Ben's thunder before his sermon. Information on any information on Danielle? Any additional?
I think still in the hospital. I know they were having some trouble with some things. What was the last that I had heard? With her PIC line and that sort of thing.
I want to try to get that room number. We'll try to get that room number today.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any highlights, lowlights?
Mary Blanton, who was on our prayer list,
Yes.
she's home.
Okay.
And she had a COPD flare up and seems to be doing pretty well.
All right. Yes.
My sister Cindy got some bad news about her cancer. It's recurring.
Okay. Surgery went well, however, Doug will be leading us in prayer here shortly, so go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is there plans for more treatment for her?
Her surgeon's going to consult with her colleagues and maybe see if they can get her into some sort of trial.
Okay.
Who else? Ben, tell us about Caleb.
Caleb was baptized Wednesday evening, which we're very excited for. So make sure you greet your new brother in Christ. And we've begun doing some studies together, which have been very good. I think we've both been enjoying it.
Good. Awesome. Congratulations, Caleb. Yeah.
Brother was in shock, and they go to the shop in Church of Christ. He was at the neighbor's the other day, and his neighbor's dog bit him in the back of the leg. Ended up in the emergency room. I guess it's pretty nasty bite he got. So stitches.
What's your brother's name?
Brian.
Right.
I don't even know if he can go to work or not. He's still working.
Okay, Doug, please.
Father, I thank you for a beautiful day this morning. We thank you for each one that is able to be here this morning. We thank you for all the teachers this morning that have taken the time to prepare a lesson. And we ask that you be with us as we study about our relationships with each other and our relationship with those that are outside. And Father, we realize you have a plan for how we should live, a plan for how we should relate to one another. Father, we just ask that you give us the wisdom to be aware each moment of how we are treating others, that we would be the example always that we should be. We admit to you that often we're not, and for that we ask for forgiveness. Well, there are many mentions who do not have the health that they would like to, whether it be through illness, whether it be to injury, whether it be to age, whatever it might be, Father. We realize these bodies are not meant to last forever. So, Father, just ask you to be with those that were mentioned this morning. Father, we thank you for your word, that we can open it together. We thank you for the wisdom in it, the power of it to change our lives. Father, we are so thankful for the decision that Caleb made to put Jesus on in baptism. We just ask that you be with him, help him to grow. Father, be with us as we would be encouragement to him that he needs as he's been blessed. Father, again, we just ask that you be with us this morning. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. A long time ago, I attended David Lipscomb for a year, walked on, made the team, got into trouble. Here's another Paul McNeil confession time. Got into trouble And after the first year was done, I came back home, decided I wasn't ready. I was lifeguarding at the pool, and one afternoon I drove down Main Street, and one of my friends from high school was standing outside the recruiting agency, the Armed Forces recruiting station. I pulled in and we started talking, and I was like, well, I would be interested in taking a look at that, but I don't know if my knees would make it. And then his boss came out and said, well, listen, we're going tomorrow morning. We've taken 2 people up to Columbus for their physicals. Why don't you come and see if you can pass everything? And then we'll have a discussion. Where would you like to go to boot camp? What would you like to do? Okay, that's fine. So after a pretty intense discussion with my dad, I went up like at 4:30 in the morning. We got up, was up there at 6. Went through the physical, passed the physical portion, went ahead and signed up stuff, because if I want to go in, the earliest, this was June the 25th. If I wanted to go in, it'd be the end of October. I was like, that's just too long for me. I wanted to do radar, talk, have a discussion, be able to talk to aircraft, other ships. So nothing would fit October. So I was like, it's no big deal, you know. So I waited around for those other 2 people to get sworn in. They went on their way, and as we were getting ready to leave, we AK2 Simmons was his name. He said, listen, so let's go back and just double check, make sure make sure you can't get in any earlier. And so he punches in the information, and he says, oh, listen, he says, a guy broke his leg skiing and he can't take this slot. Would you want to take this slot? The only, it's in Great Lakes, and it's for an operations specialist billet. I said, yeah, when does that leave? And he said, tomorrow morning. And I said, I'll take it. So that was a great discussion to have with Mom and Dad. Was, hey, Mom, I was just going up for physical. However, I'm enlisting today. Okay, when do you leave? I leave tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock. If you want to see me, you better chug a lug up to Columbus. A lot of people make decisions on impulse, and we talked a little bit about reflexive leadership and reflective leadership. I want to talk a little bit about impulses in encouraging others. So as we go through this series of lessons, and we just finished talking about the prodigal son and the encouragement that he got from his father, but also the discouragement that he got from his brother, I'm going to have 2 or 3 verses that one's extremely long, and we're going to just 2 or 3 people read that. 2 Timothy 1, 16 through 18. 2 Timothy 1, 16 through 18. When you get it, go ahead.
However, for this reason, I obtained mercy that in me, first Jesus Christ might show all long suffering as a pattern to those who are going to believe on him for everlasting life. Now to the
I'm sorry. 2 Timothy 1, 16 through 18. I said first, didn't I? Did I say first? Is that 2 Timothy? All right, go ahead again, Jack. Sorry.
Where are we at now?
2 Timothy 1.
Okay.
Let me pull it up too. 2 Timothy 1, 16 through 18.
But when he arrived in Rome, is that right?
Yes.
When he arrived in Rome, he sought me out very zealously and found me. The Lord grant to him that he may find mercy from the Lord in that day. And you know very well how many ways he ministered to me at Ephesus,
That's not coming up.
That was 17 and 18. He just didn't get 16.
Go ahead and read 16 real quick.
May the Lord grant mercy to the household of Onesimus, for he often refreshed me and was not ashamed of my chains.
There we go. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. My fault. And I'm not getting the Wi-Fi to pick up to where I can go to the verse itself. So let me grab it from here. So what are some things that Onesiphorus, yeah, had done to encourage Paul?
Well, one thing in verse 17, it says he searched for him earnestly
Yes.
and found him.
Okay.
He wasn't ashamed of him.
There you go.
A
Yeah.
lot of people were, maybe avoiding him because of, I don't know, he probably would have had a reputation by this point, with all the things he's gone through and all the different times he's been imprisoned and various things.
And that's probably when it comes to Paul Saul, that's probably the biggest lesson of all for us there when it comes to our relationship with fellow Christians. We as humans tend to keep in our mind the things that happened yesterday, whether that's with our relationships with others or our relationship with ourselves. We tend to, I lack the ability whenever I've done something wrong, I ask forgiveness for something wrong, and I should be done with it. What do?
Keep dwelling on it.
Yeah, we stick it in our pocket still, and then every now and then we pull it out just to remind us, A, how bad we are, or B, what we've done in the past. Comments on that. Comments on how we hold things when we could be encouraging people and things.
You know, it's that whole forgive and forget thing. And sometimes that's, really not possible maybe for us to forget, but for us to forgive, I think means that we choose to treat that person as if they hadn't sinned. I mean, that's what God does when he forgives us. He treats us as if we hadn't sinned. And so maybe we don't literally forget as in it goes out of our brain, but we can choose to treat a person like Paul, not like someone who was persecuting and hunting down Christians, but instead as a servant of the Lord, because that's what he is now.
And how hard is that? I mean, to me, that is the highest example you can give is Paul when it comes to the ability to not hold things in. I had so we're going to go with holding things in. And I got into a little conflict Monday, 6 days ago, with one of our workers, with one of our employees. And as soon as I found out about it, I immediately went and said, hey, let's go to the boss's office and let's have this discussion because I want to make sure it's taken care of now. And amidst that conversation, early on, there was no give in him. And I'm trying to be that older, mature person, and I understand, and those key words that you're supposed to use as leaders, I understand, I appreciate your input, I value your opinion, all those good things, and there was no budge. And finally, as I was proving that this was not the case, he said this, well, I just have a great difficulty in confrontation. I take things, here's where I get in trouble. I take things and I put them and don't say anything about it. And then I take some more, whatever else happens, and I put it in this jar and I don't say anything about it. And then something else and I put it in a jar. And I said, well, they have a word for that. And does anyone know what that word is? That's called a woman. So anyway, and I said that. But when it comes to what Paul did here, when it comes to what Paul did here, put that in this scenario here. There, you can't think of any greater negative thing to happen than for somebody to come in right now and start saying, I hate Christians, they're an abomination, and start shooting. And that person, Mike's back there in his chair, he grabs him, police come, they arrest him, and Ben goes and starts preaching to him. And he knows that he's wrong. He dissed this, and 2 years later, he comes through the door. And he comes and sits in here. What is our, not what it's supposed to be, what is our reaction?
High alert.
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
High alert.
High alert.
Mm-hmm.
Worrisome. Or
Maybe angry.
Anger.
Very watchful.
Very watchful.
Yeah, we definitely wouldn't be seeking him out, like in his first day.
Yes, correct. I'm going to praise the congregation because about three or 4 months ago, a homeless person came to services. 4 months ago?
Something like that. Yeah.
And after the services, we had a potluck. And this person had a knife here. This person, according to our standards, wasn't, I don't want to say up to our standards because that's not what I mean, but
He didn't look like us.
he didn't look like us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and had his backpack. You knew as soon as you saw this individual, he was homeless. Came in for the fellowship, I sat at his table, but the relationship and the communication that the congregation had was just off the charts. And what?
Welcoming.
Yes, and it made my heart feel good that as a congregation, that's how we were treating this individual.
Mm-hmm.
And he now has a job. He's staying at the shelter some. I know Allison has talked. Have you heard anything from this person?
I've not.
Allison did for a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, had a conversation. So that has to be, and he even said, man, I was just welcomed so, it was just so inviting. This congregation was just so inviting. Thank you for the meal. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. That's encouraging. 1 Kings chapter 19. First Kings chapter 19. We are going to read verses 1 through 18. Now, I'm going to read a couple verses, and then I'm going to say stop, and then we'll let somebody else read. Here's what we're reading for. We're reading to make a list of things God did in lifting Elijah out of discouragement. So things that God did to lift Elijah out of discouragement. So I'm going to start on verse 1. I'll read 2, 3, 4 verses, and we'll go. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, also how he had executed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, so let the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and ran for his life and went to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and his servant there. Someone else, please.
But he himself on a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he asked that he might die, saying, It's enough. Now, Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers. And he lay down and slept under a broom tree. And behold, an angel touched him, and said to him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you. And he rose and ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God.
Someone else.
There he came to a cave and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him and said to him, What are you doing here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed the prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, Go out and stand on the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great strong wind tore the mountains and broke into pieces the rocks and before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloth, and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him and said, What are you doing here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, killed your prophets with the sword. And even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away.
15 through 18. Someone, please.
And the Lord said to him, Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu the son of Nimshi you shall anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat and Abel-Meholah you shall anoint to be prophet in your place. And the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael shall Jehu put to death. And the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him.
What are some things that God did here for Elijah? Fed him. Words of encouragement. What else?
He loved and cared,
Showed love towards him. Okay. Showed love towards him.
sorry, I couldn't spit it out.
You're good.
He showed his power.
Showed the strength of the Lord.
Surely that he's not alone.
Had assurances. Sir.
You ask him questions. It always amazes me that God asks questions.
Yeah.
God asked Adam questions.
Knowing the
What have
answer.
you done? Yeah. But lets them explain it.
Yes. And those of you that have had do now children, that's how it's done. You know, those of you that have pets, that's how it's done. You know, what did you do? Well, you know exactly what he did. You know, so yes. We're going through a lot of verses today. 1 Thessalonians 5:14. This is one that I'd like for you to, 3 or 4 of you to read that have different translations and summarize what the verse teaches, please. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 14.
ESV.
Okay.
And we urge you, brothers, admonish the idle, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with them all.
Okay? New King James. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all. Someone give me another. Another translation, please.
And we urge you, brothers and sisters, warn those who are idle and disruptive, encourage the disheartened, help the weak, be patient with everyone.
Now we exhort you, brothers, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, support the weak, and be patient towards everyone. That is the New American Version. Does anyone else have another version? Okay.
Now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men.
Okay, now we're not going, which what we should do, go 3 or 4 verses before and go 3 or 4 verses after to catch the quote unquote gist of what they're saying. But remember early on we talked about that almost always you could break the word down into 3 different categories. Does anyone remember what we talked about those categories were? Commands. Inference. Okay. Tradition, history, command, and tradition. There's outliers, but history, command, and tradition. Verse 14, which is that?
Command.
Yeah. What can we say? What's another word for exhort? Lift up. Urge. One has plead here. I think beg is just maybe a little too strong, but to encourage. There we go. Okay. So when you think of the word encourage, I really don't think that you think of automatically exhort, plead. What is, when I say encourage, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What's a word that comes to your mind? Or what's an action that comes to your mind? Okay. Kindness. Helping. Listening. Okay. Positivity. And of course, whenever that word encouragement comes to me, my head automatically goes to sports, and I picture someone on a track in a competition, and what's that coach doing? Yeah, come on, you can do it. Yes, come on, you can do it. I know you can do it. There's that encouragement that I pick up whenever I hear that word. That's what I envision as encouraging. And that is what the Lord is doing here for us, encouraging us to do verse 14. Mike.
Well, Ben can confirm, but I've heard with dogs and children, you're better to encourage than discourage.
Yeah.
Your results are better. Is that true, Ben?
When we remember.
Yeah.
When you don't lose your temper.
Are you asking me because I'm close to being a child or because I have a child? Yeah.
Okay, so here's I have 3 thoughts, 3 questions that we're going to discuss, and by that time we probably will be done. Number 1, give me things that tend to cause discouragement in a Christian's life. And that's going to be a broad range because everyone is different. What are things that tend to cause you discouragement in God in your Christian life? Go ahead. What were you going to say? Kids. Okay? Kids. Nephews.
Physical hardships.
Physical
cause a lot of
hardships.
Discouragement.
Doug, so my view, prayer may be a little different, but that I try to repeat what the person praying does. And one of the things that I paused when Doug was doing the prayer, Doug said hardships or issues, and he brought up this and he brought up that, and then he says, or age.
Mm.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's where I'm getting to where, wait a minute, just yesterday I wasn't like that. Now today I'm like, man, oh yeah, crack, get up in the morning, you know. So age is a discouragement in a Christian's life. What's something else?
Attitude.
What?
Attitude.
Criticism, attitude.
When you pray about something and you feel like you're not getting it.
Okay.
Your work environment.
Work environment.
Not living up to your own expectations.
Not living up to your own expectations. Not living up to somebody else's expectations.
Or the flip side, people maybe not living up to your
To
expectations.
your expectations. The thing about the church, the thing about the church is, I'm going to put in an example. I don't remember how it exactly happened, but I know that Dawn and I, sometime back, were having a pretty good discussion while we were driving. Okay? And while we were driving, we were arguing a little bit. And as we were arguing, we came to a stoplight, and it was, I don't remember where it was, but it was in a town to where there was like 3 lanes. And it was busy street, and at the stoplight, there were traffic over there, and these guys were going through like crazy this way. And I thought, man, as soon as I pulled up, I'm like, something to the effect of, can you give me a break? I didn't say this, but can you give me a break? And is everybody like this? Meaning this relationship, does everybody have these issues and these problems that's going on? And as I said that, I looked and I thought, you know what? Those 2 cars right beside me, they've got issues just like I do. They're just different issues. And all of those cars on the other side, they've got issues just like we do. And those cars going this way, back and forth, they've got the same thing. There may not be my issues, but they have issues. Mm-hmm. And the positive about the church, it doesn't matter what issues you have. We are the Walmart for the soul, because we can take care of anything you need. The church is a one-stop shop for lost or broken or hurting or criticism issues or this or that or expectations. We should be that one-stop shop. Discuss that. Am I right? Does that make sense? Because it doesn't matter. I mean, Greg's issues are different than mine, but he's got issues. Caleb is a new member in the church. He's going to have issues. His issues, to me, come on, Caleb, that's small. That's no big, but it is. To him, it's a big deal. So at times I belittle things. Everybody has issues. What are some things that I might do to discourage a brother or sister? What are things that we as Christians do that discourage our fellow brother or sister? Ignore.
Belittle their issues.
Belittle their issues. That's a very good one.
Be too busy.
Be too busy. Mm-hmm. I can tell you this, that there are times where I'm one of the first people out the building. because I got so much, I got to get this done, I got to get home and do this, and I've got this. We make ourselves busy. What else? Things that we do to discourage.
Can I record that?
Yeah.
It is recorded. I'll send it to you.
She'll make clip. Every morning, wake up, it's on a projector over the bed. Things we do to discourage our brother or sister.
Focus on our own issues and not others.
Yeah. We worry so much about ourselves that our time gets reduced in worrying about others.
Exclusive sometimes.
Do what?
Sometimes it's, you don't have to be too exclusive. Like, okay, I'm close friends with the people who are the same as me. I talk to those people who are the same as me. And you forget there are people on the periphery that
Yes.
have that close knit
Yes.
friendship group that you enjoy company.
And-
need that.
Hold on that, Ben. And as a congregation, I can attest that Dawn and I'm going to shoot one here, probably have been to more congregations than most here, just due to my travel and our moving and stuff. And 10 minutes in the building, whether this is a congregation that you want to put time into, or let's go look somewhere else. Let's go somewhere else. Hey, we went here this morning. Let's go here some in the evening, because that's our normal seats. That second or third row. So you come in, maybe someone says hi to you. How are you doing? You go and you sit down. Nobody comes to see you. No one says hi, boo, whatever. Services gets over. You pick your stuff up. You walk through. You go out the door. Now, that's not why we're here. We're here to glorify. But that clique is what you're talking about. And being let into that clique, that sometimes is difficult. Ben, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the exact way to word this, but I think sometimes we can discourage people by wanting to correct things a little too much. We care a lot about the truth, which is great, but sometimes there'll be a situation, maybe at a funeral or something, and a grieving person sometimes will say things that are not always biblically accurate. And sometimes we kind of want to jump on them and correct them and say, no, you're wrong. That's not the way it's supposed to be. When what they really need is, at that moment, a listening ear, someone who cares for them, someone who's with them. I think sometimes we just have this desire to fix every issue in question. And sometimes we can't, and we have to realize that.
Related closely is, especially with newer Christians, especially when you get it all perfect and all right, you have to act together. Either before the baptism, they consider baptized, or like, oh no, you've been baptized for a couple months now. Why aren't you here instead of all the way back here? So I was like, well, it takes time. Like, you think about where we started and how far we've come and how long that took.
And again, just like everybody has different issues, everybody goes in a different way to get there. And that's a tough sell for a 35-year-old. That's not as tough for someone my age now, because I've mellowed a little bit and okay, does it really matter? 2.5 weeks ago, I went and was asked to officiate a funeral. Is it called officiate? Do the eulogy, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it. For my first cousin. And this is a family who, when we were growing up, from baby till 17, every Friday night there were 20 cousins in a room about that size, because mom and dad could close the TV room door and they would go play cards. And we were in there, and so very close. Well, he lost his way. Drugs, stealing, prison, cancer. And then hey, we want you to drive 3 hours, do the 25-minute graveside service, and then be done. Here's the scriptures we want you to read. Now, Just luckily, the scriptures were the prodigal son, which I'd already had in my arsenal here because of this class. And thankfully, it wasn't about heaven, hell. I don't know. It was about lost and hopefully now being found, and being thankful to be able to come back to the fold. Talking about mistakes, and I think we as Christians must be able to see mistakes, to see the problems that others face, and not firstly judge, but firstly hug. And we talked last week about hug or a hammer. And I think if we pulled out that hug a little bit quicker than we did the hammer, I think not only that person's life would be better, but I think our life would reflect that as well. Last one. What are some things that I can do? This goes a little bit with this. What are some things that I can do to encourage a brother or sister? I'm going to start. Ben has I don't think it's been a year. Ben, when did we go and meet at the cabin at
November.
November. So in November, we sat down, and later on we're going to talk about goals. We're not going to get to that. But these are some of the items that we, as Ben directed that horse, but we came up with some ideas, and these on this pullout is a great way to encourage if we join in. If we join in. I'm going to ask that question here, but I'm going to leave you with this. So MV&U is basically a suitcase university. Does anyone know what that means? Suitcase university? Not very many from around here, yes. A lot of commuters, yes. But Friday, whenever someone has their last class, they're grabbing that suitcase and they're off campus. And we'll see them back Sunday evening at whatever time. So we have tried to do an abundance and spent a good deal of money trying to keep them on campus, to keep them active on campus, to keep them engaged on campus. It doesn't matter what we write on this paper if we, and I'm pointing the finger at myself, if we don't participate in these activities, it doesn't matter. We can come up with the best ideas, the greatest examples, the best thing in the world since sliced bread, but if we don't participate as a group, it's all for naught. And this is one of those times, if I was Ben, I would say, can I get an amen? But
amen.
So comments on that. Things I can do to encourage a brother or sister. Things I can do to encourage a brother or sister.
Encouraging others encourages yourself also.
Yes, exactly. Because you feel that, and I don't know if it's as much as, less than, or more than the person that you're encouraging.
Sometimes just simply praying with someone. You know, we often say, I'll pray for you.
Yes.
But if you take that moment to stop and pray with them, I think that is more encouraging for them.
One more.
Sometimes stop talking and listen.
Yes. We, hold on to that, okay? We, meaning me, whenever we have that discussion, I always try to put myself in their place, and well, this happened to me. Hey, well, you know, I did that. Yeah. That's not what they need. Sometimes it is, but they need someone to say, hey, I understand. What can I do? What can I do to help? What can I do to be there? Katie, what did you say? Include. Have them be a part. All right, thank you guys. Short on time.